Abdur Kalam Namasat, Wubazun Amakasamun Impaat. That is, begin all prayers and thinking as a part of all. Anaki Daka Paashak Impaat. Wu Kalau Ashak Kawan Dakoni. Anaki Kasamanafa Paat. Wu Paat Kawan Kasamanafafni. Anuki Wahu Emma Paat. Wu Paat Kawan Wahu Emani. Nuk Kadur Naju Emma Kasamanafa Paat. Awu Khabub Emma Shakas Un. Nuk Kadur Kawun Kala Pafaf Nuk Ragub de Kalpaat Talama Ragabni Kawenlia Beke de Kalpaat. Anuki Yabad Bina Fasni. Paat Kawen Anuki Paat Kadur Nuk Kadur Paat Amu Nuk Amu. That is, I am in the love of all, and all love is in me. I am a part of all, and all is a part of me. I am one as all, and all is one as me. I can succeed as a part of all, or fail as an individual person. I can be all that I wish in all, as long as my wish is to stay in all. I am never alone. All is, I am. All can, I can. All does, I do. The next one is the prayer of Asaru. Nuk ta'ura fug and antatinya inosat. Aniki timli pata. Aniki li pali ul. Nuk halaktu. Ila paliolat. Nuk gabaltu. Paliolat amabikun. Aniki pamahoy shalanataru. Pare shalanataru. Pa mustarasio shalanataru. Anuki fi pa nawar shalare. Pa nawar shalare kawan dakoni. Anuki hayu zinasuf. That is, I fly up from you, O mortals. I am not for the earth, I am for the skies. I have kissed the skies as a falcon. I am the essence of the guardians, the light of the guardians, the messenger of the guardians. I am in the light of Ray. The light of Ray is inside me. I am life itself. All right, so we will get started. And I think you all said we left off on scroll 12. Is that correct? Page 43. 39. The true I remains. 40, which is absolute existence, knowledge, bliss. 41. One should observe the play of life as though he or she were watching a movie. 42. 42, but again, does not identify with it. 43. Whatever situation one experiences, his or her reaction should be. 44. I am not involved. I am only watching it happen. 45. This entails introspection. 46. In close awareness. 47. The mind does not want to be watched. 48. And will soon slow down its activities. 49. But it does not give up without a struggle. 50. In many ways, it will deceive and persuade one to stop watching it. 51. It is a powerful force that is capable of dragging the attention wherever it goes. 52. Unless extreme watchfulness is practiced. 53. Many, many times, it will divert the attention from its focus. 54. One must observe this with patience. 55. Then firmly return to the witness state. 56. Taking care not to fight the mind. 57. But only to gently guide it. All right, so the synopsis there is also referencing meditation. Now, one, when it says at the very beginning of that in 38, I think it was, one should observe the play of life as though he or she were watching a movie.
I was thinking about that when, like, literally, the time I were talking, I was like looking at that, like rereading it, like trying to figure out what that even meant.
Okay, all right, good. All right, so what that means is, one, don't get so wrapped up in what we call this life or who you think your identity is, but rather, as we talked about in previous weeks, you know that you are a body, a spirit, and a soul, but you are not your body. You are not your job. You are not male, you're not female. You are not American, you are not Iraqi, you are not Latino. You are actually God who manifested in these particular forms, but don't identify and get wrapped up in this form. Now, how do you not get wrapped up? When you're going through this course that we call life, try to look at it as though you're watching yourself, as though you're stepping outside of your body and watching this character, this actor going through life. It sparks introspection, meaning you're going within and assessing your own thoughts, your own feelings, your own moods, but as well as it doesn't allow you to get caught up in the drama of life or the depression of life or the anxiety of life. One thing I do in meditation is when I sit for meditation, I'm in my mind, I'm out in space somewhere, and and it's interesting that the earth is over there. The earth is way over there, and I'm out in space, and I'll look back at earth, and I'm like, all of those situations, all of those friends, all of those families members, all of those problems, all of those situations are over there on that planet. I'm not there. Right now, I'm here, like a fixed point in space. And that's when I go into my meditative state. And then when I want to come up out of my state, then I'll go back to the earth. And I literally see myself coming down through the clouds, coming down, seeing the tops of trees to wherever, I'm seated. And when you go through life, just looking at this, even now, I'm looking at this as a play. You don't get wrapped up in it. You don't even like let's say you're going to speak in front of a group. If you look at it as a play, you won't get nervous or shaken up. You'll be even keel. And this is why, I don't get upset, because I'm not really here. I'm really looking in at us doing this. Does that make sense? And when you do that, you'll find life seems to be much easier, much smoother, because now you're not getting caught up in it. Let's see, anything else that I want to share from here? 50. In many ways, the mind, will deceive and persuade one to stop watching it. All right. Your mind doesn't want to be watched. This is why when you try to clear your mind, you get all of these thoughts. Like if you try to meditate for even 2-3 minutes, your mind will flood yourself with all of these random thoughts that you weren't even thinking about. And it just pops in your mind, because the mind doesn't want to be watched. And it's like it's throwing things so that you can't watch it. It's saying, here, think about this, think about this, think about this. But the more you do it, meaning meditate, the easier it gets. And then once it gets to the point where you can clear your mind, that's when you can access your subconscious mind under your consciousness. And that's where all of your answers are. Your mind has all the answers to your own problems. It's like a file cabinet that you can't get to because your mind is telling you to focus on all of these other things. Once you clear all of this garbage out of the way, then you can go to your file cabinet, open it up, and pull out the answer to your life. Any questions? Okay. All right, Doll, if you would take on page 44, scroll 13, 1 through, all right, would you please take scroll 13, 1 through 10?
Okay. 1, lo, I am in all, and all is in me. 2, Yahshua ha Mashiach, Jesus the Messiah, Isa al Masih, stated as recorded in the letters of Johanna, Bar Zabadi, John son of Zebedee, whom ye call Saint John the Divine, the 10th chapter, the 30th verse. I am the Father are one. I and the Father are one. John 10:30. 3. And again in the letters of Johanna, Saint John the Divine, the 14th chapter, the 9th verse. He that hath seen me hath seen the Father. John 14:9. 4. There are no qualities in the universe that are not in the human body. 5. The atom is a complete replica of the solar system. 6. With electrons encircling a nucleus just as planets revolve around the sun. 7. The atom is a microcosm small. 8. And everything that is happening in the microcosms of the human body. 9 is also occurring in Ta, also called Orb, Ereth, Terra, Eridu, and Ard. 10, that ye mortals call the planet Earth. 11. Okay.
All right. And so looking over those verses, what is your summary and synopsis?
That we are the universe, that we exist as one with the universe.
What do you mean? Like, take a particular verse and that stands out to and for you, and then explain what it means to and for you.
Number 4, there are no qualities in the universes that are not in the human body. So nothing for me, that means there's nothing in the universe that doesn't exist in our body. So light, life, light, everything we see, everything we see on the earth exists in us.
Okay, that is true. Does anyone have anything else to add? All right, so what Ms. Coretta just read was everything in the universe is in our human body. As it talked about, it had the atom, and then around it, you got, those electrons, just as the solar system has planets. The microcosm is what is in us, and the macrocosm is the universe. Now, a lot of times we, meaning people, like to separate ourselves from the universe as though I am me and the universe is that thing out there. That is not the correct way or a healthy way of looking at it. You are a part of all and a part of the universe. Even the universe is a part of all. Now, when people talk about where did it all begin, how did it all begin? It's the same as your beginning. You came from your mother and your father, who came from their mother and their father. Now that's as it relates to people or animals. Then it starts to get murky, but it also applies to plants. It also applies to elements. It also applies to things in space. When we look at our particular sun, it was birthed from a previous sun that imploded and exploded, forming our sun, which formed these planets that cooled, that you now see going around the earth. And then on these planets, now stay with me for a minute. The sun is the element of fire. But from this sun element of fire, it birthed an earth, or as the scroll says, Ard, Ereth, Terra, and all these other words for earth, which is land, which then birthed what?
Us.
Water,
Oh,
fire, earth, water. What's the other element?
air.
Now, all of these elements of nature being born from its parent is in the human body. What is the element of sun in the human body?
We don't have like a fire system like where the lungs are.
Wait, what did you say? We don't have what?
Like fire necessarily. It's
Body temperature.
Okay, all right.
Blood.
Breathe on your hand.
it's just like the core of the earth.
Wait. You breathed on your hand. You said it's hot. Why is it hot?
Temperature. Body.
Where's that temperature coming from?
Earth.
All right, so one person says the sun out there, another says right here. Coretta, Dolly, any thoughts?
The body, the body temperature.
Okay, Coretta says the body temperature.
I'm thinking you're going for something with chakras.
Like what?
The heart.
I heard heart. Dolly, what did you say?
Maybe solar plexus or something like that.
No, you're absolutely right. The element of fire or sun that is in the universe, you're right, is actually in you. You have a literal fire inside you. It is a literal fire in your solar plexus. You're 98.6 degrees because you have a literal fire inside of you, and you have explosions that go off inside of you. What are the explosions of fire that go off inside of you? Taco Bell. You say?
Taco Bell.
Oh, no. Okay, no. All right. So when you breathe in oxygen, what happens? Yeah, your lungs expand, but what happens to that oxygen?
Is it converted to something else?
That's true. What is it converted into? You breathe in oxygen and you release carbon dioxide.
Carbon dioxide.
Now, how does that air go from oxygen to, how does it go from oxygen, which I believe is O6, to carbon, and then how does it go from O6 oxygen to carbon and another oxygen to two oxygen atoms, carbon dioxide? How does that happen? And we're talking about how the universe is inside you. When you breathe in, so when Yuli goes, he takes in that oxygen into his lungs. When it gets into his blood, it literally, what? Yes, but it ignites. It's a literal fire explosion that goes off. Then your arteries picks up that oxygen and starts transporting it through to all your cells and organs. Yes, even faster than that. Yeah. So it takes all that oxygen through your arteries. Your arteries do the pushing. And so on the left side of your body, where your aorta, your heart pumps it out, and now it's boom. It's delivering all of that oxygen, and those explosions are going off all throughout your body. So if you were to increase down to like Ant-Man and go inside your body, you would see those explosions going off. Then when those red blood cells have done their job and gotten rid of all that oxygen to your cells, your tissues, and your organs. Now it's coming up on the right side of the body through what? We said the arteries do the pushing and delivering of that oxygen. Now that it's depleted, those red blood cells is picking up all of the garbage, and it's going to carry it up on the right side of your body through your veins. And it comes back into your lungs, and then you exhale.
A lot of work.
It is a lot of work, but it happens in a split second. We're talking about, yeah. What did you say?
The human body.
The human body is so interesting, is what you said.
Yes.
The human body is only a microcosm. What did it say? Microcosm of the macrocosm, the universe. Everything that is happening in the universe
It's similar to how the body
is happening in your body. And everything that is happening in your body is happening in the universe.
on a bigger scale.
Right. This is part of what we mean when we say, I am in,
Oh,
and all is
And
right.
It's very amazing. So Earth is what? And that goes to like everything else, like insects, animals.
Right. Exactly.
Plants.
Yes. Now you're getting it. Yes. Now you're starting to see the relation, plants, elements.
Even the as small as when they mentioned the atom itself.
Yes.
When it has its own system going.
Right.
So when they talk about Earth, in your mind, that's just outer shell of it, right?
Yeah. The earth of the human body is your flesh.
And then the water is like the blood.
The water is like the blood. Well, water actually breaks down. You got blood, you got plasma.
Everything
But
is
yes,
liquid, right?
yes.
The wind is your air.
Yes.
Got it.
And well, what about the other element, which would be
Metal. The bones.
no, that's part of the earth. What is the metal element in your body? What did you say? Iron. Yeah, just like when you do your iron, you do your multivitamins, it has iron. That is the element. So all of these elements are there in your body. Thank you, Ms. Coretta. All right, Mr. Lonnie, would you take us from 11 to, looking for a period. Yeah.
7-Eleven.
Yeah. 11 to 21.
11, and is also occurring in the universe. 12, individual cosmic creation and destruction are taking place all the time. 13, instead of identifying with the individual self. 14, which is only a tiny fraction of the universal scheme. 15, one can find his or her larger identity by merging with the cosmos itself. 16, making him or her a cosmonian.
A cosmosan.
A cosmosan. 17, it is matter in its subtle state. 18,
Most subtle.
most subtle state. 18, before the sun and the planet Earth came into existence. 19, they were gas molecules. 20, and before evolving into the molecular state. 21, they existed in the etheric or energy state.
Okay. Now, Mr. Alani, based on those passages, what is your summary and or synopsis?
Some of it is what we just talked about, how the body, the human body has a system, and that system coexists in every other thing in life, including, the cosmos and almost in everything that we see in our day-to-day life. I'm not gonna lie, one word that really struck me is the word scheme on 14. It says, which is only a tiny fraction of the universal scheme. Why would you want to use the word scheme? Because usually scheme is when you're scheming for something.
Okay. All right. So, all right. One second. Right. All right. All right. So let's look up the word. Who said? Yeah. Somebody. Just say scheme. Google. Google. Google scheme. What is the definition of scheme? No. Wait. Let's get the definition. What is the definition of scheme?
Part of a plan. That's what it means.
A large-scale systematic plan or arrangement for attaining a particular object or putting a particular idea into effect.
Okay. All right. So
A
now.
clever marketing scheme.
All right. So now let's get rid of the word scheme
Okay.
and read it with the word plan.
So it says, which is only a tiny fraction of the universal plan, which sounds different. But the reason why is maybe society had taught me that when you use the word scheme,
Right.
it's leading to plans,
Right.
but plans.
And then the
that benefit
nefarious.
you-
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Or they're deeper.
Yeah,
Right.
but the thing is, when you use, like, it can be positive, negative, right? When you use schemes, right, you think of the word is a negative word for you, right?
It is a negative word.
So
for me.
when somebody say, hey, we have a scheme in place.
Scheming out
like,
Right.
for instance,
Right.
Right, we have a scheme.
Right.
So we can win the game.
You're right.
That's a positive, right? So
Right.
we
Or
draw out,
finesse.
we map.
No.
We draw out.
Well, see, what's happening here is your first language is Arabic.
Yeah.
And so you're coming into English and you've been taught that in English, scheme is usually a nefarious word or,
To some extent.
Yeah.
It's because just like, as
Mhm.
Franti said, it's like, you always hear the word scheme. It's like, I got
Right.
this evil scheme.
Right.
Like,
Right, yeah. Yeah.
Like,
right,
when the word, scheme, I read it here, it struck me as like, someone
Right.
scheming behind curtains for the
Right.
bigger universal.
yes.
But
And
I
that-
understand.
Yes, got it. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
I think one other thing, also, it says that,
Where?
from 18 till 21.
Okay.
It says, speaking on how the sun, the planet Earth came into existence.
Yeah, so I'll speak on that.
Now, these, just like how we see them right now, and
Right.
they took a form.
Right.
At one point, they were nothing but gas, energy,
Yes.
states,
Right.
which means that really goes back to like things that we spoke on before. Like the energy is there, it takes shapes.
Right. Yes. Now, so let me ask you this question. So who or what is the parent of the sun, or what does it say? The sun or the earth?
Oh,
According to what you just said, who or what is the parent or parents of?
okay, it would be gas and energy.
Yes. Yeah. So the relation that I want you to see in that is that when it talked about how the sun,
Everything in life.
well, let me finish. How it talks about how the sun and the earth came from those pre-existing gaseous states.
Correct.
So now when we were talking about how you come from your mother and your father, them coming from their mother, their father, it's the same way. We came from the earth, which came from this particular sun, which came from another sun, but the parent of these suns,
Gas.
right,
Which- the-
are those gaseous states.
What is gas considered as? It's not an element. It's a form of what? Gas. What is energy? Right. Like
Right.
like you say you have these elements, right?
Mhm.
So what would you categorize energy and gas?
Right. All right. So now you have to break down. Well, first of all, what is the first element?
Hydrogen,
Right. And hydrogen is the first element. Why?
because it carries one electron. It's the smallest one light.
Right. So now, as you break down this hydrogen atom, which has one nucleus, and then it has only one electron, hydrogen. So now your question is, so what is this gaseous or gaseous state that birthed these suns? Because it couldn't be an element, because the first element is hydrogen. And hydrogen birthed helium, which birthed the suns. So what are these gaseous states that we're talking about? Now we're starting to, instead of when you look at, say this is the line, and you got your 99 plus 1 elements from hydrogen through all the other elements. But then on this side, now we're talking about etheric states. And in these states is where you find your quarks and other subatomic particles that have no weight.
Which are the smaller than electrons.
Yes, and yeah,
And,
yes.
Obviously.
And obviously what?
I was saying because for the longest, people thought electrons were the smallest part
Mhm.
of the atom, and electrons they carry your day-to-day like lives. They are not broken, and there's only the same. They circulate within our life, so there's no new electrons being created,
Mhm.
and it's the same amount.
Right.
But like recently, we discovered that the quarks were another smaller sub particle of
Right.
the electron.
Yes.
And it's just mind-boggling because how if you understand how electrons function,
Mhm.
and to know that there are quarks that are like in more numbers than electrons that actually help in the task of what electrons do.
So these quarks, they have discovered 6 types so far. They call it up, down, top, bottom, strange, and charm. Those are the 6 types. Now, now there's even smaller particles than quarks going back etherically. So when he says in, where you read it, they were gaseous molecules in 20, and before evolving into a molecular state, 21, they existed in the etheric or energy state, and that's here. Now, stay with me on this part. We exist here. We're made up of these elements that, and we talked about those 5 elements are like earth, water, wind, core elements. But beyond that, you are composed of these etheric elements. When you master meditation and meditative states, you are able to go from this state of your physical into your etheric state. That takes a lot of discipline. This is what Tibetan monks do when they originally, scientists thought the body could only come down to a certain level of waves. But then by studying the meditation techniques of Tibetan monks kept and keep proving them wrong. They keep going lower and lower and lower in their vibration. Some monks claim that they even go into an etheric state. What is this etheric state? When people talk about psychedelics, and then they talk about these beings that they met in their psychedelic state, or these experiences that they had in a psychedelic state, they're talking about leaving this hydrogen and this elemental state and going into this etheric state. Now, when you do, I hate to call it drugs because drugs have a negative connotation. When you do these psychedelic materials ayahuasca, and it opens you up over here, it is best, no, I know what you meant. It is best that you have a guide so that these beings over here, who and what, like a shaman who can guide you here and guide you back safely and with meaning. Otherwise, it's called recreation, as in you are wrecking creation because you're doing it without intention, purpose, and guidance.
So something like ayahuasca, right? It's like an enabler to it's a medium.
Yeah, it's a medium. Yes, exactly. It is a medium.
Because it's natural, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yes. And ayahuasca is not the only one. There's other similar type of elements or materials like ayahuasca that help induce that state. You can do it without, it just takes a lot more practice. Let me just go into one. One way is to be in complete and total darkness for over 48 hours, no light at all. Because when your body goes from serotonin and melatonin, that's what gives you this sleep cycle. But when you go into a complete state of darkness, it doesn't go back into the serotonin. And so it goes from melatonin to, I forgot the other state, and then into that ayahuasca-like state where you're able to communicate with these beings that people call angels or gods or whatever title you want to give to it.
Oh,
You guys.
Yeah.
The water molecule is composed of atoms of hydrogen and oxygen. 23. When atoms were smashed into
In the cyclotron.
in the cyclotron. 24. It was discovered that this was not the end of matter. 25. Regardless to what extent scientists subdivide atoms. 26. They continue to find smaller particles as quarks. 27. Even smaller particles as biaps. 28. If the planet Earth and the sun were suddenly blown to pieces. 30. The matter would
Is it revert? Revert.
to energy. 31. Be called nothing less than solid liquid gas, and as recorded in the holy tablets. It says in the third form chapter, the ninth tablet, verses 22 to 26, where it states 22 Anu
Eliun El.
Eliun El. It was you who created and made first the three abodes. 23 one of gas. 24 the other of liquid. 25 the third a solid. 26 these are the homes of his beloved. 32 beyond these three is a state of nothing either. 33
Ether.
32 beyond these three is a state of nothing either.
Ether is that state of nothingness. Go ahead.
33 immediately it would low. Oh yeah, humans.
Oh ye.
Oh ye humans. Ponder to all. Beyond these three is a state of nothing ether.
Okay.
33 immediately.
Ultimately.
It would return to all.
Yes.
34 being yet still a part of all. The journey is short.
Shot. Oh no, it should be shot. Well, okay, either one. Yeah. This is a new scroll. Yeah, it's short. Go ahead.
Okay, the journey is short. It's within itself. 35 being a part of all is being all. 36 you can't take from all, for where would you put it? 37 you can't add to all, for where would you get it from? 38 so all gods,
Deities. Statues.
images, idols, and desires to be is in all.
Okay, that was a mouthful. All right. All right. So as you review those passages, which ones stand out to you? What do they mean to you, Lee, the eighth wonder of the world?
It said something about right here.
Mm-hmm.
The Hyperhouse Ali.
Which one? Which number?
22.
22.
It's like, well, not that,
Oh,
but
yeah, okay, yeah. Enu, Eliun, Eliun, El.
so we have gas, liquid, solid, right?
Solid, liquid, and gases. Yes.
So like,
Sorry.
I don't know, reading that, I feel like it has something to do with the like solid, liquid, and gas, like reading those names for some reason, but all of that isn't us. I feel like when I read that,
Okay.
I don't know.
All right.
I feel like they're telling us something when they're trying to tell us like one of gas, the other of liquid, and the third a solid.
Right.
These are homes of his beloved.
Right. Okay. All right. Let me speak to that.
I mean, it's because it's talking about the holy tablets.
Right. Yes. All right.
These
So
are like on the holy tablets.
I will come to that. Anything else that you see in there before I cover that one?
I guess just 36 and 37. You can't take from all for where you put it. You can't add to all for where we can get it from.
What does that mean?
For me, I feel like it's like we already have it all inside of us. So like trying to like, I guess, get more from somewhere else
Okay.
wouldn't benefit us because we already have that in us. I don't know.
Okay. All right.
Makes sense?
I see what you're trying to ask. Yeah. All right. Thank you, Mr. Yulee. All right. So as Mr. Yulee was saying, in the Holy Tablets, it talks about Enu, Eliun, Eliun, El. First, in the Holy Tablets, the Holy Tablets was a scripture revealed through Panabab Yanun to close out the old cycle of time, as he taught and tells us that the Holy Tablets, as you see this scroll of eyes, that is, there's 7 eyes, meaning there were 7 scriptures that were to come that would close out the old cycle of time. That old cycle of time ended in 2000 AD. And then the universal clock of 24,000 years starts again.
Can you repeat that whole last part?
All right, that whole last part.
About the cycles and-
Right. So the last scripture to end the last 24,000 year cycle of time was the Holy Tablets. The Holy Tablets, Pa Gadush Loat, as it's called in Nuwapic, the Holy Tablets. And it closed out the year 2000, meaning that after this date, a new clock starts. Now, we talked about that time period in a couple of our other meetings where we drew this circle and we said each was divided into how many years?
2,000, 6,000, sorry.
This is a universal clock, which implies universal beings are watching this, but I'll get into that later. It's a universal cycle of time of 24,000 years. And there's a 24,000 golden sun cycle and a 24,000 silver moon cycle. These 6,000 year cycles are also broken up into moon cycles, sun cycle, moon cycle, and sun cycle. Then when that 24,000 year ends, a new 24,000 year cycle starts. But as you see, there's a period where they overlap. That's where we are now. The ending of one cycle and the beginning of another, which is why you have what Tahuti calls, and this the sacred wisdom, the doctrine of polarity. And in polarity, you have these extreme ends. If there's hot, there's cold. If there's top, there's bottom. If there's east, there's west. If there's heterosexual, there's homosexual. you have, and so right now we're at a time period where all of these things are like being stretched as if to the extreme. You're getting extreme leaders, and you might see the Erdogans, the Trumps, the Boris Johnsons, the Vladimir Putins, the leader of Brazil, all of these hard liners, because things are now going to the extreme. But the doctrine of rhythm, also from the Sacred Wisdom of Tahuti, states that the measure of the swing to the left is the measure of the swing to the right. Rhythm has to compensate. What does that mean? So right now you might say all of these shootings and all of these hardline leaders and all of this bad stuff, that is precedent, all of these wars, that's precedent to what is to come. As this pendulum is swinging over here with all of this, is going to have to swing back. And that's where you get the Mahatma Gandhis, the Dr. Kings, all of these people who are born out of this these hard times, this hate, this ignorance. It's going to birth, as it swings back to the other side, all of those majestic types. And that's where, so as you see, as you look at, as we're talking about, don't get caught up in it, but kind of look at it as it's a play unfolding. And then you'll see what's actually happening. And then you realize that swing is going to have to come back. Now, that swing is taking us from this 24,000 silver moon cycle to a 24,000 golden sun cycle, opening up with a 6,000 year sun cycle that we're in now. Now, what happens to the universe, the solar system, the suns and the planets also happens to the human body. The earth, every 24,000 years, 24,000 plus, is, I can't put it on a two-door. It goes around, this whole solar system, the Milky Way, is moving like this. And in order for it to go around the universe, it takes 24,000 plus years, corresponding with that cycle. So it'll go through, and it goes backwards. So it goes through Aquarius, then into, from Pisces to Aquarius, what people call the age of Aquarius. So it's going from Pisces to Aquarius. Then after Aquarius will be Capricorn. And after Capricorn will be Sagittarius. And it will take 24,000 plus years. Now, it opens with a 6,000 golden sun cycle where we are right now. But there's also another cycle. It's a 26,000 cycle, because the Earth, as you know, is on a 23-degree axis. And this axis that you see here takes 26,000 years to make its revolution. And when this is happening, things start to shake up on the planet. Global warming, earthquakes in places that didn't have earthquakes, tsunamis. As you see now, the earth is like an onion. It's peeling. And when it starts to peel, you get floods and you get droughts. And what you're going to start seeing is ancient cities starting to come up, because now this water is being washed off somewhere else, and now a whole new find. This is also what happened with the Sahara Desert. The Sahara Desert used to be a lake. That whole region was plush with green. But when this planet was tilted, then it changed the whole surface of the globe. But as this planet starts shifting again, it's going to be a whole new world going into this 24,000 year sun cycle. Now, let me get back to what you read about solid, liquid, and gases. And then I got to come back to the all. Okay. Now, there are, we'll say, 7 worlds, or 7, yeah, I'll say worlds for now. Physical, That's where we are. Up and above that, or we'll call these planes, the plane of force. Up and above that is the spiritual plane. Up and above that is the plane of truth. Up and above that is the plane of reality. Up and above that is the all. Nope, I'm missing one. Physical plane, plane of force, spiritual plane. I am missing one. Let me think. Physical, the plane of force, spiritual plane, the plane of divine truth, plane of divine reality. I'm missing, there should be 7. I'm missing one. Here we are on the physical plane. And this is Earth, the solid. As we start going this way, you'll go from solid to liquids to a gas state. So when it says, as you read in the Holy Tablet, and Nu, which is the leader of the Anunnaki, a group of beings or extraterrestrials, who are your Yahweh, your gods, and your Allahs. As it says, you'll start going from solid to liquid to a gas state. I can't think of the other one. So you'll go from solid to liquid to gas state. And these are all worlds. Just like in this physical world, it's an entire world. The same thing with liquid, is an entire world. And gases is an entire world. And that will be your journey. But all of this, even though we say the highest is all, as though all is separate from this, all of this is in all. And all of it is in you. And you will experience all of it in your soul's journey. You won't just be Alani, the physical being, or Yuli, the physical being, or Coretta, or Dal, or San. And when you shed this physical skin, you will continue. As we talked about, energy cannot be created nor destroyed, but only changes shape and form. And so you will continue. And before you return to all, as though you're separate from all, but you're not, you will have experienced all of it, which takes eons upon eons upon eons of time. Questions?
I'm trying to find the 7.
Yeah.
You're good. That's how I was on my phone.
Wait a minute.
Energy?
No. The physical plane, the plane of force, the spiritual plane, the divine truth, plane of divine reality. I can't believe I can't think of it. It'll come to me way after. That's it. So it's the physical plane, the plane of force, the spiritual plane, the mental plane, the plane of divine truth, the plane of divine reality, and the all. That this is also what people call or refer to as, when you hear people say the 7 heavens, but they don't know why. They just say the 7 heavens, but they don't realize this is what it's talking about, the 7 heavens. Now, these 7 planes also correspond to 7 major chakras in your body, the 7 chakras in your body. Now, when your chakras are balanced, life seems very easy for you. And this is why when you look at some people, you say, some things just seem to come so easy to him or her. And that's because they have a certain level of balance. When these are not balanced, or if something trauma happens in your life, some of these chakras can become congested. Now, each one opens up every 7 years. So when you were born, the very first one, this physical chakra, the color that's characterized by the color red, was most important. And at that time, it is important for the child to be with the mother. and touching the mother's skin, flesh to flesh, because then that child develops a sense of belonging. And the reason why a child cries is because they feel a sense of loss or a sense of fear. Then when the mother comes, they might, even if their eyes aren't open, they feel that comfort. And even if you just lay the baby on the mother's chest, it will instinctively know to crawl to the breast to breastfeed. So this is very important when the child is born, that this physical bond takes shape. If trauma happens that interrupts this process, and the child grows to be a toddler, a teen, and an adult, he or she will feel this emptiness because they didn't get that nurturing from mom at the time that it was supposed to happen. Not so much dad, that's just how it is, but from mom. Now, as the next one develops, the next 7 years of his or her life, that's this orange chakra, which is 2 inches below your navel. Now, it deals with how you relate to friends and other people. Like when you were in between 7 and 14 years old, that's when you start to imagine yourself as maybe comic book characters, where your imagination starts to take shape. You start building friendships. Now, if that is interrupted, it can become congested.
I feel like a lot of that's congested in my life.
Of which one?
Horse.
Orange or the red? The red is the physical that comes from the mother, and it gives you a sense of, I belong here, meaning earth, and I can make it here. You feel like you're on solid ground. With the orange is friendship. If there was a disruption in between 7 and 14, this could become congested or just somehow out of balance. And then as you grow, if this isn't remedied, then you're going to have to deal with this problem in your life over and over. What happens is, what happens is for lack of a better word, the universe presents you with opportunities to remedy this. But the older you get, the harder it becomes.
Because the further it is.
Yeah, yes. Mm-hmm. You want to ask a
Okay, so
question?
I got a question. Both of those, as an adult, right? So, when you said that if here the child grows up, becomes adult, then that physical part becomes like empty.
Yes.
How does that happen? Like
When
sometimes I feel like that. Sometimes, not sometimes. Most of the time.
Right. Right. How that happens is, as this child, as you know, children are, and you have children are sponges. They absorb everything.
Mhm.
And the younger they are, the more absorbent. And so they're taking in everything from their environment and the environment you don't see. Up until 7 years old, they can still see between this world and the world they came from. And then we teach them to get fixed in this world. And so they stop seeing the beings from the world they just came from. This is why some children, when you look at them, their eyes are following something. You don't see it, but they do. But then we teach them to get fixed in this particular reality, and they lose sight of those. Some children still maintain that, and they'll call them imaginary friends. But when you are developing, your chakra is developing, your root chakra is developing, it needs that connection to mom. And mom is your connection to mom from 0, especially between 2 and 3 years old, is crucial, because it lets you know your mom is like your earth. Your mom is your God. Your mom is your first God. It lets you know that I'm safe. I'll be taken care of. I belong here. I can make it. And that's your foundation. And that is very important at your 2 and 3 years of age. If that's not there, and then you grow up, you're going to feel like, you're not going to feel like you're planted. Yeah, you're going to feel like you're always being tossed to and fro, and you're in this state of panic, this state of fear. And this is why kids cry out until you give them a bottle or you pick them up and you hug them. You always feel that emptiness, like you need that bottle, you need that hug, you need that support.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Questions? Should I keep going on? Okay. The next one is
Yes.
this spiritual, which is characterized by the color yellow. Right. That's your solar plexus. Now, that solar plexus chakra is very important. It's like Grand Central Station. Everything feeds into it and it feeds everything out. This is when you start getting interested in intellectual pursuits. And this is like going from 14 to 21, when you start to find out what subjects you really like or what subjects you really excel at. This is where your intellectual, you start reading, getting an interest in reading for those next 7 years. And of course, if it becomes congested, then it disrupts your learning cycle. And then of course, if this comes into your older life, your learning cycle is interrupted or imbalanced. And this is when you just become a cog in somebody else's wheel. You really have no ideas of your own. You're just following everyone else's course or plan for you. In short, let me continue to the next one. The mental is your green. And that deals with how you relate to love and how love relates to you. Rahubat. All right. So we'll go ahead and stop there. We'll get ready for the next class. But before we end, Miss Coretta and Miss Dolly, did you guys have any questions?
No,
No questions.
Go ahead, Coretta.
No questions.
You said you have a question?
No, I do not.
Oh, you don't. Okay. All right. All right. Then thank you for attending. Again, I want to stress, always stand on gratitude. Gratitude keeps you rooted in the present. It is the only time in which changes can be made, and you won't drift into depression nor into anxiety, and you'll always grow. All right. Thank you, Coretta. Thank you, Doll. I'll talk to you later.
Okay.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you.